Hey, it's James Robbins here, and would your leadership pass the manure test? Well, what's the manure test? Well, not long ago, there was a story about a man in Illinois who won the Powerball, over $200 million. And the first thing he did was quit his job. The next thing he did was hire a company to go and get 20,000 pounds of manure and dump it on his ex-boss's front lawn. Well, his ex-boss gets out of bed at 6 a.m. and trucks are dumping, manure on his lawn, and he phones the police, and the police show up, and the ex-employees across the street dying laughing. And he later tells the police, listen, this guy's been dumping manure on me for the last 17 years, so it's time that I dump a little bit back on him. Well, anyways, it turns out the story's actually not true, but it's one of those stories that you wish was true, right? It's just we all like to hear stories like that. But it illustrates an important principle, and that's the principle of reciprocity. In fact, this is a law. This is a universal law. The law of reciprocity is all about that when someone does something good to us, we want to do something good back. When somebody does something bad to us, we want to do bad back. It's our way of bringing justice to the universe, right? Of striving to have some kind of equality. Well, in fact, we're actually hardwired for reciprocity. This doesn't even need to be taught. This is why if you're out to lunch with one of your buddies and they all of a sudden reach for the check when the waiter or the waitress brings it to you, and they say, like, I'm going to get you lunch. Usually a little bit of an argument breaks out between, no, you can't get lunch. I mean, I got the appetizer, let's at least split it. And they insist, no, I'm going to buy you lunch. And we only surrender after we've said usually this, well, okay, but only if I get it next time. And that makes us feel better because we're trying to balance things back out. It's the law of reciprocity. And we are just hardwired for that. Well, the law of reciprocity works in the workplace. And one of the best ways that we have to understand this as leaders is to make sure that we're caring about our staff. In fact, I've worked with thousands of leaders all across the country, and I've asked many leaders the question, who's the best boss you've ever worked for? And they'll all give me names, and then I'll say, well, what was it about that boss that made them the best boss? And I get a variety of different answers, but let me tell you what's pretty much on 90% of everyone's list. They make the statement that my boss cared about me. That made that boss so influential and so impacting in their life. And for us as leaders to make sure that we're caring about our staff, there's so much goes into that. Of course, that builds trust, but more than anything, it creates this positive reciprocity. You see, when you care about your staff, they can't help but to care back to you. It's hardwired into us. And how do our staff care back? They care back by working hard, by wanting to make sure that they are dependable, that they get the job done, that they don't let you down. So sometimes what happens with leaders is we get caught into transactional leadership where we're so busy running around, changing light bulbs, putting out fires, checking things off our task list, that our relationship with our employees just becomes very transactional. And transactional doesn't produce reciprocity. We've got to invest something. And so how we break that cycle is to make sure that we are consistently making time to care about our staff. Well, how do we do that? Because you can't go around the workplace hugging people, right? So one of the easiest ways to do that is just to take a genuine interest in them as people. Genuine. Not a management technique, but honest to goodness, genuine interest in them as people. To want to know about them, to want to know about the name of their spouse, the name of their kids, a major hobby that they have, some of their work goals, what are their passions in life. These are things that don't come about in an interview per se, but in the small chit-chat in the regular hum of the office or the workplace. And another way to show that you care is by giving your staff your undivided attention when they come and talk to you. And drop what you're doing and get off the computer, and when they're speaking to you, just look at them. Let them feel like they're the only ones in the room and that you're locked on and listening. Those are just two easy ways to communicate to people that you care about them. Well, the law of reciprocity works the other way as well. Just like in the fictional story of the man who said, hey, my boss has been dumping manure on my lawn, or on me for 17 years, it was time for me to dump some back. That works as well. And so when an employee feels like their boss doesn't respect them, doesn't like them, then they will reciprocate, but in a very hidden and subversive way. They'll hold back their engagement. They'll smile and act like everything's okay, but they're not going to be as engaged as if you are making sure that you're you're taking a genuine interest in them. So remember, the law of reciprocity is always alive and well. And it's a great question to ask yourself. If one of my employees won $200 million in the Powerball, are they going to dump manure on my lawn? I hope not. Let's hope that they're going to do something great, because we're going to be the kind of bosses that care about our staff.